Hi everyone, this is the Recreate Reality podcast with Michael and Teresa. Today we are talking Survivor Australia, Brains vs. Brawn II. We're recapping 2 solid weeks from episodes 4 to 9. For anyone who hasn't watched the show, there are massive spoilers ahead. In today's episode, Mad Max tries to stomp out the jungle rat, but he gets taken to school and outclassed. AJ threatens the Brain tribe with a hostage takeover, and lastly, Noonan targets Ursular and wraps the tentacles around her. If you've missed the episodes, you can catch all the action on 10play, Survivor Australia, Brain vs. Brawn 2, episodes 4 to 9, breakdown coming up.
Hello everyone. We've got a lot of making up to do.
Yeah, so 6 episodes. Yes, we're definitely going to try and get them finished
Yeah.
today. We apologize for the little lag in delay.
Yeah, we've had a busy time. Teresa had a wedding to attend. Her cousin got married, so we had relatives from overseas. Had some work. Was busy with work, and I fell ill last week with a flu. So we've just been slammed, and unfortunately, this is sort of like a hobby for us still. Look, I'd love to quit my job and do this full time, but for that, we need a lot more subs. So help us out. So yeah, it's taken us a while to get to this. So we're very sorry. Thank you for bearing with us, and we apologize from the bottom of our hearts. We feel bad every time we have to put off an episode, and it's really
Ideally, we would have
really
liked to do I think each week by week, but just I think this couple of weeks everything just came all at one go.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, that's life. Well,
Yeah. Ideally, we'd like to do episode by episode. Rather than just summarize the whole week in one. But yeah, and also we're trying to cover 2 shows. We've also had the Traitors USA season 3 just finished a couple days ago.
So we're definitely going to do that.
We're definitely going to do that. And then we'll have more time to spend on Survivor.
Yeah.
So.
No excuses. Anyway, we just wanted to let you know. And we hope that you actually really like this episode because a lot has happened in 6 episodes. So shall we get to it?
Let's get to it. Let's start at the beginning.
Okay.
Episode 4, 5 and 6, like week 2. We're just going to smash through it very quickly. So you're not going to get a comprehensive breakdown. Anyway, the past is the past. But we have to go over the quick eliminations from each of those episodes, okay? So...
Well, can I just say, before we get to that, I just want to quickly touch on the latest thing that has happened, which is that Max has actually got voted out, and I am actually super happy about that. I know we're jumping a little bit ahead, but I think, I'm really happy to talk about that later on in the episode.
Can't wait.
We're actually voting for Miles to go all the way, but I just want to, get the main thing out of the way.
I'm not... I don't care who goes through. I want Kaylin to win, actually.
Oh, yeah. Well, that too. But I think, Miles is, he has survived.
He has, but his game has flaws, which I'm advocating for him, but I'm not a full fan yet. I'm not standing for him.
Okay.
Because we'll get into that. That's ahead of us. We've got a lot to talk about the Max v Miles, but Max has just been eliminated. Very satisfying.
Very so satisfying.
Oh, that felt good. I haven't run around the house that much since, oh, jeez, I can't even remember. I was very excited. It was very thrilling. It was very well edited and put together. And it was a real dramatic outcome. You could sort of see it coming, but would it be satisfying or not? You just don't know. But they built it up for them to fall. And that's kind of the theme, I think, that we've seen in the past 2 weeks, right? The bigger they are, the harder they fall. You think about Kent, Nash, Ali, Max, Rich, all these larger-than-life personalities who bring so much to the show, who are so interesting, exciting, watchable. Very entertaining.
Yeah.
But strategically, socially, narratively, they fall short.
Yeah, I think so. And I think, say, when you have, very loud personalities, they do tend to get a lot of airtime with the camera. Sometimes they might not actually be the best person that you actually just want to hang out with just because it can get a bit too much, I assume.
Especially in Australian Survivor, where, as compared to American Survivor, there's a subtlety to Australian culture. Not just the game, but society in itself. Australia really does have a more modest cutting of the tall poppy syndrome here, where if you stand out too much and don't fit in, you're going to be cold. And we see that with these big personalities. So shall we start with Nash? Episode 4.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, so Nash with his teeth bucking out and his waddle, He's such a funny character. I don't know where they got this guy from.
And I think, to be honest, I think he really started off the season on the bang because he found an idol in the first 5 minutes of reaching camp. And lo and behold, he actually... Well, firstly, he told Zen about it, which I think is, okay, quite a good way to build trust. But firstly, you don't actually know who you're building trust with.
No.
And then he just goes and shows it to the whole tribe, which I think... I don't know. It's just astounding to me.
Yeah, I think this is the Ferris and George kind of consequence, effect, right?
Well, and Hailey too, because Hailey actually did that, like, in her season where she won.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, but I feel like she kind of, like, had been backed into a corner, and she kind of knew that she was on the outs, and she had to actually put on an idol, make a show of strength, and be like, okay, I've got this.
As they both did, as the other two did too.
Yeah, I think it just, in this case, like Nash, like, no one started playing no one started playing yet. He didn't.
It's like he saw how George played, saw how Ferris played, but only saw the highlight reels and didn't see the actual episode and the in-depth. It's like he just scanned through the trailer and saw, oh, okay, come into tribal really bold and try really bold, flex your idol, that's mad, that's gonna work. It didn't work.
Well, but that's the thing. I think, like, even with Ferris, he had an idol. He found an idol pretty early, but he had it for quite a lot of episodes. And to be honest, I think I nearly forgot that he had an idol.
Exactly. He flexed it when he needed to.
Yeah, he flexed it when he needed to, like, not straight away.
Nash's game overall was very clumsy, clunky, socially awkward, unaware socially, I think.
Yeah.
He didn't really know how he came across to people, how he wasn't connecting to people. Further, the two people that he decided to align with, Ursula and Zen left the show due to injury. And Ursula, also kind of an outcast. He didn't connect with the right people at the right time.
Yeah, I think sometimes it's always a bit hard to,
It is. It's such a tough game socially, and you could see him just not connecting with anyone on a social level. He was the awkward kid at the party who just didn't know how to break the ice, unfortunately.
And I think maybe he tried to, like, have his idol as, like, oh, this is something that I can show off. People want to work with me now. But unfortunately, I think it just backfired.
He reminded me of this kid in primary school. I always go to these primary school kindergarten stores. I'm so sorry. Who used to buy lollies at the beginning of every lunch just to get kids to hang out with him so he could give them lollies. It was a bit like that where he was trying to buy alliances and allegiances, but that just doesn't work, Nevertheless, entertaining character. I wonder where they got this guy from. Episode 5. Let's talk to this. Okay.
Yeah.
This was interesting. Okay, so the way... how will Ali be remembered?
Okay, so what happened is, just a quick recap because it's been like a couple of weeks. So Ali had actually gone over for a reward with the other tribe. Unfortunately, she also ended up snitching everything to the other tribe, which was not taken well.
Oh, actually, this is the episode. Episode 5 is Rich goes to the other tribe. But that still happens all in the same episode.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, so it's all the same episode. So Rich goes. He actually goes. Like, instead of getting voted out, he actually goes over during tribal. Because I think they had lost one person, Zen.
Yeah.
So they had to, like, rebalance that. Rather than have another elimination.
Gotcha.
But I think in that case, I think Ali also goes over and ends up like snitching. In the reward, and we also see the way that she kind of becomes a little bit more bossy, maybe in the way she was talking to AJ.
Oh, this was the worst. This was so entertaining. She created such a good, iconic moment here, television-wise. And I just wonder if, watching this back, if she's going to go, oh, is that how I am? Am I really a Karen? Because, I'm sorry, it's a mean word these days, but, like... She came over, she saw AJ sitting there like a sad sack, and he wasn't really a sad sack, he was just acting sad sack.
I'm AJ, I'm pretending
and
to be
she's
AJ.
Like,
you can be Ali.
There's AJ, I'm just going to go over and just try and cheer him up. Hey, stop being a sad sack. No one likes people on the bottom. You're on the bottom, you have to go home. I don't want to remember you like this. I don't want to see you like this. This is pathetic. You're being pathetic. Oh my God. It was just... I don't know where it came from. I think she has a no filter thing, like the other people that went home in the last couple of episodes, where she will just maybe say things without considering
I
how
think-
people might take it.
I think so. And I think she sometimes also, well, what the show has shown is that she tends to like to tell people what to do, but it's maybe not really in a very nice way. It can be sometimes quite bossy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that never does well.
That never does well. And, even the passive aggressive way in which she confronts AJ later on, when AJ's just standing there like, okay, yeah. And everything that he says is clearly just irking her. Like, he'll just say, cool. And she'll go, cool. I wouldn't say cool. What you're going through isn't cool. Being on the bottom isn't cool. You're not being cool. And he just goes, cool. You know?
I know. I think it was quite awkward and a bit cringy. Well, that said, I guess we find out that
But she's so entertaining, though.
She is
You love
entertaining.
it.
Like, yeah, but I guess, if you do need comforting, I don't know if Ali is someone that... She probably isn't very good at that. And I think maybe when someone is feeling something, especially if you're feeling, like, sad or, like, depressed, it can actually make people feel quite uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Because a lot of them might find it hard to empathize with that. Or at least maybe if they do empathize, they actually try and fix you and say, hey,
rather than
snap,
listen.
Snap out of it. Let's do this, but rather than actually validate your emotions, which I feel is like what she is trying to do.
Yeah, she's a problem solver, not an empath.
like a problem solver.
Which is how a lot of men are, to be honest.
Some women too.
Some women too, a lot of women. But we see someone in distress, and our instinct isn't to go over and listen and empathize, but to try and give them advice.
Yeah.
Right? That's how people are.
Yeah, sometimes when I feel sad, and
Yeah.
I'm like, honey, I'm sad. And then you're like, oh, really?
Let me fix you. I know how to fix this.
Let me fix you. And then we're like, oh, all I want you to do is just to listen and go,
Right.
like, every few minutes.
So there's 3 solutions to that, isn't there? You were telling me the other day. You can listen, fix, or... What's the third one? Or let them vent.
Hold on. Okay, wait. What is it? I think when someone comes to you and they are, I guess, talking. This was something I learned from like Brene Brown. I think it's like you ask them, okay, what would you like? Would you like support? Would you like advice? Or would you like a hug?
That's it.
That was
Advice,
what I got from Brene
support,
Brown.
or a hug.
I think she had a documentary on Netflix. Yeah, it's very interesting.
Interesting.
Yes.
Okay, so AJ
unfortunately-
just wanted a hug.
AJ just wanted a hug. Ali thought that he wanted advice.
Right. Or support, but she went for option A. Not correct.
Yeah, well, I think her idea of support isn't actually support though. I think her idea of support
Criticism.
is actually comes across as criticism and
Yeah.
trying to fix them.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So episode 6, let's round that out. Max gets an advantage.
Yeah, so I think Rich, excuse me, Rich had gotten voted out the night before.
Oh, to the
and
other side.
to the other side, to Brawn, and then he got an advantage, which he passed to Max when Brain lost the challenge.
Bomb squad.
So now Max has an advantage.
Yeah.
And this is also, I think, like in the couple of last 2 episodes, so we start to see the coven, this alliance of like women starting to crumble as well, and the bomb squad, like the group of men, they've actually formed, which I feel is like a reaction to the coven.
For sure.
Yeah.
Sometimes when you create a force, all you do, and you're trying to protect yourself and stay
trying to
safe,
gain power as well.
and get in power, all you do is end up creating an opposing force to stand up to you.
Yeah, like the king who is a tyrant, he will always create like
Form a
these
rebellion.
rebellion, forces
So-
that will oppose him.
Had the women maybe just eased in, created a more
Yeah.
organic, flowing societal structure, they wouldn't have created this monster that was the bomb squad, right? And let's talk about the coven for a little bit, because we haven't spoken about this in so long.
Yeah.
Forming alliances based on gender, i.e. just genitalia, is never a good thing, I think.
I do tend to find like in a lot of shows though, women tend to band together, I think.
Sure,
and I
people-
don't think
all
it's
people.
I don't think it's a bad thing.
It's a natural
because-
thing for people
yeah,
to
I
do.
think women
At
we
work.
just tend to group together, talk, and sometimes we feel like the way we talk about stuff, other women can understand
Sure,
it better.
of course.
Compared
all
to guys.
people are gonna flock together.
Yeah, I did question this coven thing because
But-
I was like, it is a very big group, firstly.
Yeah.
Firstly, you don't know them, that, Secondly, it's a huge group. It's not like, say, 3 people. It's like 5 people, maybe 6, including Indy, who got voted out.
It's very early game as well.
Yeah, it's a very early game. There is no way a group of 5 or 6 is always going to vote together. I didn't feel like there was going to be longevity in it.
Yeah.
And rightly so. Like, you know, like after like a couple of tribals, like, you know.
It's very hard to align all of your personal interests when there are 5 women who each want to be heard. And you hear them all say, whether it's Karen or Logan or Laura, I'm not getting my point across. I'm not getting things my way.
They and women, we feel like, you know, especially like, you know, we get very passive-aggressive when we feel like we're not being heard.
Yeah. And even the famous Black Widow Brigade only formed in the final stages past merge.
And that's also after they've known each other for quite a long time.
They were well known. A lot of them knew each other. They had great relationships. And, you know, but to do it so early and to try and give it a name, that's the other thing that a lot of groups are doing now on Survivor. Naming their moves.
Oh my God, naming their alliance. Everyone has
naming
like
their
named
moves,
their alliance, naming
like
their idol.
Italian Job, Jezebel, everyone is naming everything as if they're going to. It's very self-aware.
Yeah, it's
right?
it's like this thing where you're like, oh, you know, I'm like, you know, if I make it, this move is gonna make me famous.
Yeah,
or this alliance,
it's very
you know?
self-aware. Very like they are very self-aware that they're on television now on the show, and they are trying to make their moves iconic and memorable. Rather than let it just happen and let the game become iconic. Yeah.
Right? That said, though, I do feel it makes it easy for us as like commentators or like viewers to be like, okay, that, you know, that is the Coven Alliance. Yeah. That is the Bomb Squad, you know, like, yeah, it does make it. Well, I mean, in the end, like, you know, the game is called Brain versus Brawn. So,
sure, but you know this whole naming thing, man. Oh, you know, Miles, we need a name. The Graduates, da-da-da.
I know.
Just every move you're making, you're giving it a name now.
I know, because like, in the end,
chill
like, you know,
on the names.
Yeah, your alliance, if it has not lasted more than like what 3 tribals, I don't know if it deserves a name.
It doesn't deserve a name unless it becomes iconic, unless it's remembered by the fans. Give us fans and followers some space to breathe, man. You're giving us too many terms and terminology is too much. Okay, we can't keep up with it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Action first, or talk and, you know, or talk and no action.
Exactly. Okay, so Max gets an advantage where he gets to pull 2 people from the tribal, send them home so that he has leverage in this vote. And it's like he mixed up 2 different plans in his mind. Okay, so plan A was Bomb Squad versus the Coven. Okay, and his move was to weaken the Coven and strengthen the Bomb Squad. So he takes off Karen and Laura off the board. But then it's like he had another plan, like a twitch, and he's like, no, my plan is to vote out Miles. But those 2 groups are not aligned in that way.
I know.
Then you have a different alignment. You have the Graduates versus the rest.
Yeah.
In which he actually took a number away from each side.
Yeah.
And he left himself on the playing field, as JLP said. So he left himself vulnerable to get voted himself. They could have gotten him.
He is so lucky. Like, you know, I'm going to say, like, you know, he's like so stupid and so lucky that he did not get voted out. Because if I was like say, if I was Logan and I'm like, what? You just betrayed me. I am writing your name down.
Yeah. I think that could have happened.
God, it could have happened.
I think as soon as he's walking up to vote, Miles could have turned around and, hey guys, what are we doing here? Let's get rid of this numpty. You know, everyone write down Max. Agree? Agree. Let's do it. That could have happened so easily because of how poorly he played this. I think he just fried his brain. He had so many people in his ear all day saying, don't F this up, that he fucked this up. And you could see him, you know, almost gesticulating all day, trying to make a big move. You could see, like, from the footage, him just going, this is going to be my moment. How can I get Miles? How can I make this epic, memorable, iconic?
And I feel like he's trying to be a little bit like David, like, you know, one of the iconic winners from Survivor. And also like a bit like Luke, you know, like the way he's like, his expressions are. Like a little over the top, you know, like thinking he's very, very funny.
very camera aware.
Yeah, very camera aware.
You know, most of the people on the Australian Survivor, they just act like the camera's not there. But you could tell he'll sort of look here, give a supermodel look, he'll flex.
You know, he'll
make
dance
a lot
in
of
front of the
facial
camera.
expressions. He'll do this kind of thing, which I like this. I can't stand his facials. But like, okay, I'm keeping my personals out of this as much as I can. But he fucked this up so bad.
He fucked it up so badly.
He fucked this up so badly. I was like, what are you doing? But what? I couldn't calculate what he was trying to do, honestly.
I think everyone didn't know what he was doing when he sent home like Karen and like Laura.
Even Karen was like, that couldn't have turned out any better. It actually kept the coven together for one, so that they didn't have to expose their hostilities towards each other. It got rid of a fringe coven member in Ali. It got rid of a player who wasn't really aligned to any of them. In fact, both of the sides were saying, let's vote out Ali before they got to tribal, which is the ironic thing. I think coven and graduates and bomb squad were all like, let's try and get rid of Ali. Had they actually spoken to each other, they would have realized they had a mutual cause.
Yeah, and also I think like Max, he didn't really know who Miles was also collaborating with.
Yes.
You know, so he actually ended up like, you know, keeping most of the graduate alliance in there. And so I think he's just not very self-aware.
Which is very interesting because as a school teacher, you think that you would be observant of the kids. Although I've had some terrible school teachers, so... But, you know, you think you would be observing, okay, this kid plays with that kid. That kid is getting bullied. I need to help that. That person... He must be shit at school too. Okay, I'm sorry. Speaking of school,
I have to bring this up.
Okay.
Like, it's a bit of a concern to me that he's actually calling Miles a jungle rat.
I don't like this.
Like, you know, calling names. I mean, surely that is not encouraged in school. And as a teacher, like, you know, why are you, like, doing...
He's taking on schoolyard behaviour that if any of his students saw, or students' parents, I would be horrified.
Yeah, I would be horrified. I would be like, I do not want my child to be...
You're bullying the weaker, smaller, wimpier Asian kid, let's say it, okay?
Like, you know, and sometimes it feels a little bit racist, the way he calls Miles a rat, you know, or a ferret, you know?
These words have been used historically in Western media during the White Australia policy to cause discrimination against Asians. The words such as rat, you know, ferret were used against Asians and Jews.
Yeah.
Just as how apes were used against Africans, Americans. These words have strong connotations, and when we hear them, it makes us wince a little bit.
Yeah, I did. I like, you know, I winced a lot because I was like, you know, it sounds racist.
It kind of does.
Yeah.
I'm not saying he's racist, but maybe he isn't aware of the words that he's using and the layering.
Yeah.
And you're a school teacher, Max.
Yeah, you should know better.
You should know better. You're an example to young children. If they see this, and I'm sure they will, they're going to see Mr. Max up on screen bullying.
Yeah, and what's to stop like his kids from like calling each other names? Like, you know, because he does it. Like, he set an example.
He's an example.
Yeah.
Like, you know, you have just set the example that it's okay to have a name for the weaker, weirder, nerdier kid, and to call him something unpleasant and nice. That's okay now because our teacher did it. I was disappointed by his example. Look, I don't want him to lose his job or anything, but I think something needs to be addressed here because as a teacher, that is more upsetting to me than, say, a doctor saying, I don't care about my patients or whatever, because you are responsible for generations of kids, and it's a little bit concerning.
And also, I think the stuff that he's calling Miles, like, oh, sneaky, you know, he's just, like, are the stuff that he's actually doing himself. He has the one who is actually, like, caused a lot of chaos. He's, like, lied to a lot of people. He's broken trust in his alliance. I've actually thought Miles, the way he's played, okay, well, I do think that maybe he does
It's a little bit oblivious and open, if anything.
Yeah, okay, well, I do think maybe Miles does the strat chat a little bit too much and can get annoying, but he's actually played a lot more honourable game than Max has.
It's interesting, isn't it? How both people perceive each other based on preconceived notions, image, visuals. But, you know, some people just stir each other the wrong way, and for whatever reason, Miles has just brought it out of Kent and Max. and it has followed through, and he just can't get his footing socially. We'll talk about that in a bit, but let's underline Ali going home, I guess.
Yeah, okay.
Ali, iconic Ali. She will be remembered as having some of the most memorable moments on this show, albeit short. But the next day, okay, episode 7, we get to tribe swap.
Yeah, so this was actually
Drop your buffs.
Yeah, so this is actually very, very surprising because I don't think anyone actually anticipated a tribe swap so early.
I don't think I can recall it this early. And I don't know why it happened so early, because things were just starting to settle down finally, and maybe it's a call from the producers where they are like, okay, things are getting too predictable. You know, we gotta shift it up here. It's time. I don't know. Maybe Zen going home early prompted it.
Yeah.
But I would have expected it to normally happen at about 14 to 16.
Okay.
Not
well,
at
are
18.
you thinking of merge though?
No, merge I would think happens at 12.
Oh, okay.
I would think 10 to 12, yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, okay. It is a bit early, it feels like.
It feels a little bit early because I feel like the tribes are just starting to settle into each other.
Yeah.
But I think that's it.
So the main thing that happens this episode is Ursular v. Noonan. Isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. So I think Ursular and Noonan have kind of been going at each other for a while. Actually, I think Noonan has actually been more going for Ursular because she's actually written Ursula's name down. To be honest, Ursula actually hasn't done much to Noonan, but she seems to get on Noonan's nerves a lot because Noonan's always rolling her eyes.
Yeah, and to be honest, I think Ursula hasn't found her footing socially.
She's like the Miles, I think, of
yeah, she's a bit of an outcast socially. She's not one to just small talk with people. She's a bit
I think she's also very black and white. It's like you're either with me or not, and probably isn't that flexible to be.
I think she's a recruit for the show rather than someone that applied. She doesn't come across as a super fan of the show. So for those that don't know, the show has 2 types of casting. They either take people that submit to the show, who tend to be the super fans, like the Mileses and so on, Noonans, and there are people that they go out and recruit who are bigger than large personalities out there in the world who they know they need. So, for example, like a Morgan or an Ursula, people who have a bit of a profile, who they want to add a bit of, they tend to be semi-celebrity-ish. I think Ursula was a recruit because she just feels like somebody that doesn't really know the dynamics of the game maybe and is frustrated by it or sees it as how the game is played as dishonest. Oh, she lied to me. Oh, that she's a dog. When it's the game.
When that's the game, unfortunately, I know.
And you can sort of see it happening when they're thrown into this world and it's a bit abrupt to them and awkward. I didn't like this exchange between the two of them. They seem to just get on each other's nerves. I can't find a side. I think they're both wrong and they're both right. Noonan does some things that irritate me. Ursula does some things that irritate me. And AJ is playing both sides to his profit.
Yeah, to be honest, I think AJ has kind of like come up a little bit since Tribe Swap. He goes around, I think, saying to, Rich, like to other people, oh, I'm totally with you. I'm going to vote with you. But then after that also like betrays Rich and be like, hey, you know, maybe we should send Rich home.
Oh, he's such a sneaky bugger. He's so good. You know, he will plant the idea, get them to nod, and then use that idea against them. So he'll go to Rich and say, I'll vote with you. Who do you want off? Oh, whoever, mate.
Well,
about Noonan?
Well, what do you think of him as a player? Like, what do you think about his plan for the hostage takeover?
Brilliant, but flawed. You know, I think it marks him as a really big player.
And someone to watch out for, and maybe someone that they will
maybe it makes
back.
him too much of a threat early on. But I've got some things to talk about with the hostage situation. But yeah, I don't know. I think he's playing too big too early overall. But there's a lot to get into with that hostage thing. Should we finish off episode 7 first, and then we'll get to 8? Okay, so we jump around a lot, and so okay. AJ plays both sides. Rich goes home. But really, it was AJ's decision all along. And he was the mastermind behind that. he's very cunning, but I think he's orchestrating everything, very George-like, but I wonder if he has the social capital underneath him to pull all these moves. Like a Ferris. Like, he's doing a lot of moves, but my doubt is he popular enough to make this last? Yeah. Because the thing about those big players like Dave, Haley, Ferris, George, they were popular. They were liked, not by everyone, but by enough people that their moves were very solidified. They had enough social capital to pull off these moves. I don't know if AJ has that.
Well, I'm going to counteract that. I think, to be honest, George was actually extremely unpopular in the first season he played with. Okay. And it was only in the later ones that he actually became more popular once people actually got to know him. I knew I could not stand George for the first season. I was like, oh my god, can this guy go home already? Yeah, right. And it took me like, a while, quite a long while actually, to warm up to him. And then understand, oh, this is actually just who George is.
Well, I think AJ is definitely following in those footsteps of being a very prominent gamer. You know what I mean? He's making all the moves. He's making all these he's setting all these traps for players to fall into, which is very interesting. And so Rich goes home. What do we think of Rich?
Rich, to be honest, a little bit... Well, actually, kind of surprise, not surprise. I thought maybe going into a new tribe would have offered him some grace. But sometimes maybe his behavior... I think in the earlier episodes, the behavior that has been portrayed of him has been quite loutish. Yeah. Like a little bit, like he just acts a little bit stupid. Yeah. And clumsy and very,
and the way brash. It was edited too. It had him reading the scroll 8 times and fumbling over, which it's dark, he's tired, he hasn't eaten, but it had him literally struggling to read at a level of a 3rd grader. And I think the edit really... I'm sure they all probably flubbed their lines.
Yeah,
and it's up to the editor to make who they want to make stupid, who they want to make smart, who trips, who doesn't trip. They constantly...
I think so.
And they really highlighted that with
I think they really highlighted a lot of the qualities that he has that drive women crazy.
Yeah, so I'm just going to close the door. Go on.
Yeah, and you can see why in the coven, they, Karen, they are just can we not get rid of him, sooner, please?
He was growing on me. At first, I didn't really get him. But then I did. Look, I used to work as an editor, and he is your stereotypical archetype commercials director. Okay? They are super alpha, super outgoing, gregarious, and they have to be because they have to pitch to commercial companies, to CEOs, to executives. They have to make these $1 million commercials on a small budget, small amount of time. Often they're off their chops on uppers, but they have these crazy personalities that are almost rock starish almost. He reminds me of that. As soon as I saw him, I was like, commercials director, So I could see where he's coming from is what I'm trying to get at. But he was growing on me in that he became somehow more self-aware. I thought he was pulling back on his personality a bit and just starting to get the hang of it. He was starting after Tribe Swap. He was starting to draw back his game,
become a little bit more chill.
Well,
at least that's what. I think that's what the edit shows. He but the fact that he actually gets voted out, or is one of the names that comes out, makes me think, okay, I think the edit just wants us to think that maybe he's just, that I think sometimes people maybe might just find it hard to maybe align with him, and he might get on people's nerves.
Yeah. Okay. So Rich goes home, and this is the funny thing, sorry to cut you off, that Ursula does. Everyone is voting Rich, but Ursula writes down Noonan. How petty can you be, sis? Girl, read the room.
I know. I think
this
to
is
be
what
honest,
makes me think that she doesn't know how the game is played.
Yeah, I know. I think, to be honest, if she had not written Noonan, I think there actually would have been a chance that they could have worked together the next day. But unfortunately, and I think, to be honest, okay, in Ursula's defense, Noonan had written her name twice.
Sure.
Sure. So she's like, you know what, I'm gonna get you back now. You know how it feels.
But that's not how the game is. Yeah.
I know.
And you can't let things take personally, because once you keep writing their name down, guess what they're gonna feel? Mistrust.
Well, yeah, I know. So she probably wants Noonan to feel how she feels. But unfortunately, I think...
which makes me think she doesn't know the game.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. She's playing what anyone would if it was Survivor Season 1. right? But she doesn't know the consequences to writing someone's name down. And she's like, oh, that bitch, I'm going to write her name down. Now we're even. Good. Now we're even. But things stick in Survivor. Things linger. Smells don't wash off.
Yeah.
And so the stunk.
The stink
stack stuck. It did.
And you got stuck.
It got stuck. And yeah, okay. So this episode, what happens? Paulie puts up a Christ-like effort at challenge. First of all, he hangs up onto the peg, which was amazing. I thought he was gonna die. It looked like a torture rack. He sort of hints that he has an idol to AJ. And then AJ gives up that he has a hostage plan. What's the plan in episode 8? So Brawn's plan is that I've got it written down here. Well, basically, Ursula goes home.
Yeah, I think so.
I've got all this stuff written down here.
I know.
All these notes, and I'm just like, I don't want to read all that out. Ursula goes home. Okay, Ursula goes home.
I think so.
Ursula. Yeah. I think we sort of covered Ursula.
Yeah, we sort of covered. So should we get should we get moving? I think, okay, so...
Okay, so yeah, Ursula, good game. GG. Let's get to episode 9.
Yeah, so I think episode 9, that's the main one that we want to cover.
That's the one we want to talk about.
Latest,
Let's go.
Yeah. Forgive him. Sometimes I think he likes to do things chronologically, and then I get a little bit annoyed. But then after that, I'm like, okay, let's move to the big topic.
Okay, episode 9 is the big topic. The one we wanted to talk about, Max v Miles.
Okay, so the thing I want to put out, I guess, why do you think Miles is so unpopular?
Because he's a jungle rat. I think, look, he is he's the nerd, for one. He doesn't... I think the race thing is minor. I don't think Karen blends well. Everyone likes Karen. I don't think it's a race thing. Morgan blends well. Everyone likes Morgan. I think it's more he doesn't know how to talk socially on a getting to know you level. Mm-hmm. You know, we saw Max even talking with Jesse. Oh, you're into skating. Do you know how to kickflip and do A-tracks and all that kind of stuff? Miles doesn't talk like that. Miles gets straight to, so who's been playing a good strat game? Who do you think is a threat? Da-da-da. He has a bit of a one-track mind when it comes to strat talk. And I think he doesn't realise that a lot of Australians, culturally, we don't like to... It's like talking money openly at a dinner party. Do you know what I mean? So, how much do you make? What are you going to do with your money? What are you going to... People... We have a person that we know that does that, and people as soon as we leave their house, and we've only they live in another country, but people talk about it and go he kept on bringing up money. That was a bit weird. I felt uncomfortable how he talked about his bonus and how much money he made this year. It's a little bit like that. Can you expand?
Yeah, so I think I do think that, like you said, I think he talks about stuff that just makes people uncomfortable, or at least they're like, we're not on that level yet where we can actually just talk strat all the time. I think also for Miles, because he seems like a super fan, so he probably was so excited coming onto Survivor, and he's like, oh my god, there's going to be all these other super fans with me. We are just going to talk strategy all day.
Let's nerd out. Let's talk about...
Yeah, and that's probably, that's why I think he gets along so well with AJ, because they're both very strategic players.
And Kaylin.
Yeah. Well, Kaylin's actually a lot more chill, I think.
But I think Kaylin can tolerate him.
Yeah, Kaylin is very chill. I think he can tolerate pretty much anyone. Yeah. But I think that's the thing with Miles. He thinks we're all on Survivor. Why aren't we all talking strat, guys? When else are we going to why would you want to talk about something else like skateboarding?
He probably thinks he's at a Survivor convention. You're on the show Survivor. When else am I ever going to talk about Survivor? Let's go. And the funny thing is, ironically, if he was on American Survivor, he would do well.
He would do really
because
well.
We're watching season 48, and everyone on that show just gets on the island and is like, okay, who do you want to make an alliance with?
Yeah, I think so. So I feel like Australia Survivor maybe isn't the right show for him. But that said, though, I do think he's actually... I really like him. Like, do I think he's going to go all the way to the end? I'm not sure because I think his position's very precarious, but he has done some amazing things to survive.
Let's talk about that.
You know, and also I think, okay, one of the things I think why he's unpopular, like, he looks kind of like geeky. Like, sorry, Miles.
Yeah, of course he has.
Yeah,
he knows it.
I know. But unfortunately, like, you know, like, sometimes people can get very cliquey, and if you don't look a certain way,
sure,
you know, and as much as like, you know, like
the beautiful people.
yeah, why do you think Max wants to, like, you know, go to Brawn so much? Because they're all like tall Amazonian, they're good at sports, like,
they're all beautiful people.
Yeah, of course, you know, and as much as, you know, you don't want to admit it, but that's how society is, and Miles is not that. I mean, plus he had this huge pimple on his nose.
Honey, but boy, does he kick a good goal.
He does.
How funny was the episode?
That was great, yeah.
That was my favourite moment of the season so far, where he kicked those goals.
Yeah.
How iconic was that?
And I think he has had a lot of, like, perceptions, like, cast onto him. I mean, even, like, you know, we had thought, oh my god, like, you know, here's another, like, you know, like, nerdy Asian guy, you know, who's not good at sports, you know, who's gonna get, like, voted out, you know, like, the first few times. But he has really pulled through, and, like, you know, by the skin of his teeth, like, you know, he could have gotten voted out by Max twice, and he's survived.
This is our dog, Sherlock. Okay. Someone who is very good looking.
Yeah, if he's on Survivor, he's likely to be a challenge beast.
Yeah, I have to admit myself, when I first saw Miles, I was like, why did they have to cast a nerdy Asian guy? Like, why do we have to reinforce these stereotypes? Why couldn't they get an athletic one on?
Like some of those guys from Crazy Rich Asians.
Yeah, yeah, I don't know, from the Fitness 100 or something.
Oh my god,
who defies these stereotypes of, you know, an IT guy. Wow.
Yeah.
Asian. And as an Asian, I do think representation is important. And so at first I was like, oh, why do they keep going for these stereotypes, right? But he has surprised me with how complex he is. And to see him do well in a sporting challenge when every other person on his tribe was rolling their eyes like, why did we put Max up on this? And he kicks 4 goals in a row.
Yeah.
Brilliant moment.
Yeah, and actually he is quite good at challenges.
He's quite good. Yeah,
like, he is, like, nimble, his life, you know, yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about Max meditating. What do we think of Max meditating? He's doing it wrong.
I don't believe him.
I think he's doing it wrong.
Yeah.
He's doing it like he saw it out of a movie. You know, like he saw this in a movie that you have to hold your fingers like this. Firstly, he's doing the wrong finger.
I think you can do different fingers, but yeah, he honestly does not look like the fact that he has to, like, he has a lot of expressions when he's meditating, and you're actually just supposed to be calm.
Detached.
Yeah, I think
in the moment.
I think he saw the episode where, like, Henry pretends that he's a yoga teacher, and he's like, you know what, I'm going to add that to my repertoire.
Yeah. And then we get to the challenge, and it is quite amazing what happens in this episode. Because AJ just out and says, I'm holding these guys hostage.
Yeah.
You guys have to throw, or I'm going to walk each of these off the plank one by one, da-da-da-da-da. At first, okay, let's go from the top. First hearing this, what did you think?
I was like, okay, no way they're going to throw the challenge.
No way.
No way. I was, like, so sure. I was like, come on, you are telling, like, all these, you know, people who are very brawny and very good, like Ben, Jesse,
Proud,
PD,
Australian.
like, what, he's a soccer coach?
Yeah.
You know, like,
I was shocked.
I was shocked that they actually threw it. I'm shocked.
Well, first, I was shocked at the idea, yeah. I
was shocked at the idea.
No, okay, let's talk about the idea before we talk about what happens. But conceptually, okay, I was thinking, this guy, AJ, he doesn't understand the character of these guys. That they would never throw a challenge. Even the integrity of even thinking about it, even in a past challenge, when Nash said he intentionally threw it, the disgust that they all showed on their faces defined their tribe. You know, Morgan saying...
she's an Olympian.
She's an Olympian. And she said, I would never throw a challenge.
Yeah.
And Ben, Jesse, PD, I could never face my kids if I ever threw a challenge. And so I thought this concept from AJ was just very ill-advised.
Yeah, I think I was like shocked that he thought of it, and then shocked that he actually announced it, not just in front of like tribal, but also in front of like, you know, the other tribe. And then I was also shocked that they actually listened and followed.
So what do we think of... Let's talk about...
It was just shock all around.
Before we talk about the challenge, the thread itself, okay, people have compared it to George, to what George did. You know, the difference about what George did is, I think George's hostage threat was a defensive situation. He was in a minority with 4 people. I can't remember all their names, but he needed to do it as a form of almost self-defense. Like, you guys, if you don't do this, I'm taking this hostage. Secondly, he had a group situation where they were unified, and he didn't mark himself as an outcast, as the conspirator or the head of this crazy thing. This time, he seems to be AJ is standing on his own.
Yeah, because I think his teammates were just like Kaylin, Kirsten.
They
were like, okay, this is just AJ.
They denounced it. Yeah. You know, I think he needed to get the support of everyone and say, hey guys, I think we can get them to throw da-da-da. Yeah. But get them on board with this idea. Yeah. And whisper it to them as a deal, rather than, hey, you guys throw this challenge, get rid of Miles, Max, Laura Zara. Sorry, Logan Zara.
Lara Zara.
Yeah. And we'll protect your 2. Make it an incentive. If you throw, we'll protect them. We won't get in trouble. Da-da. Maybe they jump on board that way. That's what I thought he should have done. But it turns out what he did was right. And it worked.
Well, not right. To be honest, I don't think it's right.
Okay, yeah, sorry.
Okay, but I think like the other team just kind of like performed wrong. But then again, that's just me. That's not how I would, do it. And I'm shocked that they actually listened to it. And it seems like in the preview for the next episode, it seems like they do it again.
I just can't believe it.
I think it's just...
And then, I thought about this.
What are we watching?
Yeah, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
Like, I think one of the tenets of Survivor is that you compete, Yeah. And so what are we doing here, guys? Like
we really like to see these contestants compete,
this.
And
I don't like this.
Yeah.
If you're gonna throw, maybe 1 or 2 throws a season is okay. If it's in a desperate situation where your ally on the other side is at the bottom and please throw it, da-da-da. But to see challenge after challenge after challenge thrown, to see Miles begging his teammates, come on guys, we can win, and them just to pretend to tug this freaking boat.
Yeah. How slow were they like running to the challenge? Because oh my god, they're actually running slower than the other tribe at the start of the challenge. There's no way they're throwing, right?
It was upsetting.
It's very upsetting.
I didn't like it. But then let's talk about, I was thinking about this and I was like, okay, what is stronger than the urge to win? It is the urge to protect. Okay? Yeah. And so stronger than the urge to win for Brawn, the Brawn 4, Kate, Morgan, Ben, Jesse, PD, is the urge to protect Noonan, who's on the other side again?
Paulie and Kirsten.
Noonan, Paulin, and Kirsten. Do you know what I mean? I think that urge was more powerful, at least for Ben and Jesse in that challenge.
Yeah, that's true. But then I also have to say, I think the whole point of Survivor is you go in and you are mixing around, you are actually forming alliances, you are maybe flipping a little bit. Yeah. And that's what we like to see. If you're just going to go as a solid block the whole time, all the way towards the end, it actually gets really boring.
It does.
And it's not so much it's safe.
It's very two-dimensional.
It's very two-dimensional.
Yeah, I think that's the game that Ben and Jesse are playing though. They just feel like Brawn hardcore to the end.
Yeah, and I do get that, and I think that's good. But then maybe it also shows that hey, maybe they're also not very good at actually socializing with other people.
It's very limiting.
It's a bit limiting.
And it's not very entertaining. Although this is very entertaining. I feel like it's not as dynamic as I would like to see. I would like to see more social shifts.
Yeah.
Rather than people holding on to this freaking, it's like Palestine, Israel or something. They're holding it like a blood feud.
I know.
And it's ridiculous. Let go.
Yeah.
You know, let go of this. It's not your identity. It's literally just a colour that you were given. You don't have to throw challenges. Wouldn't it be better to form alliances with Miles, with Logan, with Zara, and move forward with a little bit more strength, even though you have to get rid of one or two of them for your own individual game, you know, to form alliances. And that's the thing I'm not seeing with Ben, Jesse, and PG, is that individual game. They play it like a team sport.
Yeah, they team it like team sport, but eventually you're going to have to vote each other out. What happens then? Like, you know?
Exactly.
Yeah. So anyway, I think I was just super disappointed that everyone threw a challenge.
Yeah.
I mean, Morgan, you know, like this Olympian,
So
you know.
Yeah, after they had chastised Nash and everything and said, we don't do that.
Yeah.
We're Olympians. Bruh. All to get rid of Miles, who poetically, like the phoenix, rises
again,
and is given an idol.
So
like
I was thinking,
I felt like a producer almost gave it to him.
I know, it's like except that I don't think it is, because he literally just found it in the sand, you know.
Then he's like, "Let's go, you pricks!"
I know. Oh,
I got the idol.
You know, so fulfilling. Like, because I was like thinking, oh my god, this would be great when they were throwing the challenge if Miles found the idol, but I thought that was just going to be too hard. You know, like a needle in a haystack. But he actually found it. Thank God for Miles. You know, Jungle Rat lives on. You know.
Jungle Rat survives.
Yeah.
That was a beautiful television.
Yeah.
And if you like or don't like Miles, as long as you appreciate the story of an underdog,
and
this was 7 bullies aiming at one.
Like David versus Goliath.
It was. And he got the slick shot idol. Oh, this was so good.
So good.
And they could have won the challenge even after that, because Kara was really struggling with her 2-point shot. They could have won. That's the ironic thing, you know. Even after all this tomfoolery of them looking for an idol in the sacks, the one person that didn't want it gets it. The one person that was working hard to win the challenge gets it.
Yeah.
And so now we have an interesting voting block, right?
Yeah.
We have the OG Brain, Laura, Zara, Max, and Miles against OG Brawn, which is Kate, Morgan, Ben, Jess, and PD. Excuse me, I need to wipe my nose. I'm a bit sniffly. I'm going to get tissue.
Yeah. Okay, so we got the OG Brain 4 versus the OG Brawn 5. And I think, hold on. So they actually have one. Well, actually, they have 2 idols, but Max wasn't letting on.
Sharing.
Yeah. Okay. There was a point in time in the episode when Miles. Okay, the 4 of them were grouped together. So there was Miles, Max, Laura, and Zara. And Miles was saying that, okay, I'm actually willing to play the idol for you guys if we can, just, come to a good strategy for it. And there was actually almost a point where I actually thought Max seems like he's actually about to tell them he has an eye.
I think so.
There was some sort of like flicker of emotion just went through his
He's so easy to
face.
read as a thinker. You can literally see the thoughts going on his face like a screen. Like, turn on them. Tell them. Idol. He's so obvious to read. But I could see it too. I could see him almost saying like, what if I tell them about my idol?
Yeah, like why did you?
But then I think what happened is Zara and Laura put a bit of pressure on him.
Yeah, so Zara was like, if you do anything to us, I will kill you.
That is never a good way to convince someone of a plan.
Yeah, because to be honest, okay, like up until this point, Max has always gone about, accusing Miles of being a jungle rat, being sneaky, being like not an honorable player, like all the attributes of a rat, okay? But in this case, Miles actually probably surprised him by like, oh, he's actually willing to like sacrifice an idol.
I think he
group.
scrambled Max's brain.
Yeah.
The fact that his arch nemesis was willing to put it all down and say, hey, if I need to, I'll play my idol for you, Max. This made Max go, glitch and twitch, right? He had to do a hard reset and he was left with no software. And I think he just,
I think he was just like, oh my God, like, wait, hold on. Like this initial perception I have of Miles is actually
wrong,
but unfortunately,
but then Zara
I think
and
the girls,
the girls then feeling uncomfortable, feeling insecure, naturally put pressure on him, as you do when you're feeling insecure. They say, if you do this, I'm going to kill you.
Yeah.
And then more often than not, you create the monster that you're trying to avoid through anxiety and pressure, right?
And I think this is where I think Max starts to be like, okay, you know what? I will not be dictated to. Zara is threatening me. You know, I don't like her bedside manner. You know, I think he doesn't like being told what to do.
Of course he doesn't.
I think maybe he really...
He's a primary school teacher.
Yeah, struggles with like finding respect.
Look, he tells 8-year-olds what to do all day. He's not going to... You know, if you've ever spent time with primary school teachers, they have a reputation for being a little bit bossy. So, you know, he's accustomed to this, not being spoken back to, not being spoken to with disrespect. It's a weakness in both their games too, though, because I think Zara needed to manage Max a little bit better too.
Oh, like butter up his ego.
Butter up his ego. I think her own, you know, stay-at-home mom personality came out too. Where she was like, if you do this, I'll kill you.
Where she has to be in control.
Yeah.
You know, of everything, yeah.
She needed to also be a bit more gentle and say, Max, are you okay with this? How can we find common ground between you two guys? You know? We need this to work, Max.
And I think like
you know,
Laura
this is
probably
better.
is a bit softer. Like I think if they actually say, "What do you think, Miles?" rather than be like, "Okay, Miles, you better do this, otherwise I will chop your head off."
Yeah.
And everything else that you own off.
They should have known Miles's ego and personality enough at this point that he needs to be not just included in the plan, but at the front of the plan.
Yeah, I think so, and that's why I think when he actually told,
Excuse me.
you know, the other side, like Ben and Jesse. You know, he's like, I want to be included in the strat chat.
That's the first thing he says.
Yeah.
That's his first condition, right? Like, I want to join you guys, but I don't want to just be a number. Let me hang out. Let me have a play on the toys from time to time. Can I join your gang? It was so sad. It was like the kid at the playground who wants to join the cool kids. He used to hang out with the nerds, but now he wants to be cool. And so now he's lingering around the side while they're skateboarding. And he's like, can I hang out with you guys? And they're sort of like, they're nice, so they're like, yeah, okay. But anyone on the outside could see this isn't going to be a long-term
because I
fit.
think when he actually told Laura, he's like, I'm actually joining them. You know, you should come over to it. And Laura's like telling him, yeah, but you're going to be at the bottom of the alliance. It's like, no, I got this. I'm a people person. I know how to like read them. You know, and even at Tribal, he was really, really cocky.
You're not like us. That's the thing I would say. Can't you see you're not like them? And then it's almost like he doesn't realize what he's saying and how it conveys to other people. So he's out there in the open saying, I'm going to be the swing vote. I've got all the power tonight. And I was rolling my eyes like, you numbnut. You're literally telling them
that you're going to swing.
That you're going to swing. That you could potentially swing when they are... That's the exact thing that they've been talking about, worried about for you. That you could be the swing. So to break this down, the voting that Max wants, and this is a sound plan, provided that Max does not fuck up, right? Yeah. Max wants a 3-3-3 split, which will, so 3 on Miles, 3 on Zara, 3 on anyone else, right? Then the other 3 would be the voting block of the brains voting on whoever they vote for. So what that would happen is it would draw out Miles's idol. It would go to a tiebreaker. The idol would be scratched, and then go to a revote. So they get rid of the idol. You go to a revote. Everything's perfect. That's the ideal plan from the perspective of Max. But the problem of, and even a few of the Brawn, but the problem with that is it gives Max a lot of power. If he changes his mind and decides to vote anyway on either one, he has all the control of the swing.
Yeah.
So he can go and give the brains an extra vote, or he can give Brawn an extra vote, however he chooses.
Yeah.
So you can see why the Brawns are hesitant about this plan, even though it is the best plan. And yeah,
I think so. And I think also, okay, Max, like, you know, so you think he would have learned a little bit of humility after that advantage, you know,
F up, yeah.
Yeah, okay, but I think that's the thing with Max. It's like when he gets given something and he perceives it to like give him power, he starts to become very cocky. So when he had the advantage, he was like, oh my god, now I can like, you know, do this. And now he's got his idol, which he names Jezebel, which I think actually that's an interesting name. He's like thinking, oh, I feel confident now, you know, because I think that's the thing. The good thing about an idol is when you do feel, when you do get one, you do feel quite invincible, because always in the back of your mind, you're like, that's okay,
I've got extra
an idol.
life, yeah.
But with that confidence, if you do act on it, it can also be, I think, a backlash. Because you actually, unless you actually know when to play it, it can actually make you maybe sometimes almost a little bit obnoxious.
Yeah, you put yourself out there a little bit more, knowing that you have an extra life almost, right?
Yeah, and you think that you're safe when you're actually not.
Yeah.
And I feel like with Max, the 2 times he has effed up was when he had the advantage, and now he's got the idol, and he's just like, he thinks he's like a golden god or something.
The funny thing is that the move that he does after talking to the bros is he says, "Oh, how can I make this better?" And he goes over to Laura, and this is the irony, and we're going to get into some maths here, right? But he goes over to Laura and says, "I'm going to go with the bros. I got invited to the cool kid party. I'm going with them, guys." And obviously Laura and Zara are then like, "Well, far out. Now we have to vote with you." And what this does is, okay, they all decide to vote on Miles. So they pile the Miles vote on Miles. The irony of this is that it only empowers Miles's idol. It makes his idol more effective. It makes it perform better because it eliminates even more votes off the board. So Max's thinking here is just flawed.
Yeah, because before there was always going to be, I think, only one vote on Miles.
Yeah.
Like, just to flash it, and then the rest on Max. And then, I guess the girls, Laura and Zara and Max, they vote on whoever they want. But because they switched their votes to Miles, so now his idol comes across, is defeating 4 votes, I think?
Yeah.
Rather than just 1 vote.
Yeah.
And, it makes his actually... it makes his game better. It
makes his game better. It leaves the existing votes on the field more powerful because now the single vote that he casts and that aren't on Miles are even stronger. Now only 3 votes are on the field as opposed to 5. You know what I mean? So Max's move, again, backfired. Had he gone to Laura and Thingo and said, "Look, I'm voting with the boys, but I need you to stay your vote on this because we need the split," he could have, probably wouldn't have saved himself, but he could have made himself at least invulnerable. He forgot that he was on the field. Like, the best play for him would have been to continue with the split with the boys. Like, tell the boys, "I'm voting with you." They vote however they vote. But he votes with the girls and say, "Look, we need to split off and vote us 3 strong. Us 3 on anybody," right? Then we flush the vote. I'm safe. He forgot to think about his own safety. Basically.
Well, wasn't that what happened with the advantage as well? And he didn't learn from that?
Yeah, he did learn from that. And he has an idol too.
And he has an idol. And he was like feeling so cocky. Oh, this was just golden mode. Okay, the first golden mode. Okay, quite a few things happened this episode. Firstly, that AJ threw out the challenge of holding the team hostage.
Yeah.
Secondly, that people threw the challenge. Thirdly, that Miles found an idol. And 4th, that Max got voted out. I'm just like, oh my god, like, this show had
You had a funny line.
Yeah.
He goes in tribal, Thingo said, "This vote is a vote to cement myself."
Yeah, like as a tribal idiot.
Yeah, and you said, "Yep, he cements himself all right." He cemented himself all right.
Okay, so he's calling his idol Jezebel. This is an interesting name.
I haven't heard it that often, but when I have heard it, I've heard of it. Basically, it means like a harlequin, or it's associated with a promiscuous sexual woman type thing.
Like the Madonna, the whore.
Yeah, a little bit. It has that connotation.
Yeah, like very biblical kind of like connotations.
It's a Hebrew name. I don't know what he's thinking of when he says it's Jezebel.
Because it's not a common name, to be honest. I mean, you would get to 100 names before you pick Jezebel.
Lucy, Karen, Stacy, Tiffany. Yeah, anyway, he calls it Jezebel, but yeah, funny guy. The best thing he could have done, though, okay, obviously we were talking about the best moves he could have made and how bad this move was. Other than splitting the vote with the girls and trying to force a tiebreaker, that was his best option. But the best option was just to wait another day.
Yeah.
To play. Option B was to play his idol for himself. Option C was to wait another day, don't target Miles, group with the 4.
Yeah, well, if he grouped with the 4, he didn't need to play his idol.
Exactly.
Yeah.
If he grouped with those 4 and did what they asked to do, the idol would have still landed on Miles. It would have been 4v4. 4v4.
Yeah.
And they would have gotten out...
Well, they would go back to a revote.
Kate. maybe. Yeah, revote, and maybe gotten out Kate, or at least weakened that Brawn alliance. So many better moves he could have made.
Yeah, and I think in this case, it's just one of those things. I guess, like, if you really, I think the best players that we've seen in Survivor are the ones that are actually able to work with their enemies.
Yes.
Different enemies. But I think sometimes, but we know, like, it's hard. Like, emotions come into play. If you really do not like someone, you just do not want to work with them. But often I find, or you just really want to get them out. But sometimes I think often it's to the detriment of your own game.
Yeah.
And also, he just did not learn from his past mistake. He did not learn from the advantage, Buha. He carried on into this, thinking that he was safe, that, he can read people, that he's a very social person, thinking that he could, like, rise to the top of a very...
It was like the coyote and the roadrunner.
Yeah.
This obsession, right, that just leads you to your downfall. And he was the coyote... Miles was the roadrunner. He kept on chasing this guy until he went off the cliff. And he looked under and he was like, God, meep, meep.
Yeah.
I'm done.
Okay, so before we wrap up, there's one thing that I wanted to ask you. What did you think about Laura and Zara trying to trick Miles into playing his idol for Zara? How did you feel about that?
It was so obvious. It was so obvious that it actually clued in Miles as to what they were doing. I don't think they really wanted to trick him. They just wanted to make sure they were safe. But it actually gave him the evidence that he needed to go the other way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And had they not made that move, had they not said anything, he might have been safe. But acting is hard. What do you think?
Yeah, well, to be honest, I'm actually a bit disappointed in them.
Yeah.
Because I feel like, he has worked so hard, like, to have this alliance. And, to trick someone into, like, playing... Like, and he's earned that idol. Like,
Yeah.
And to trick someone who's at the bottom of the tribe to play their idol for you. I don't know. It just doesn't feel very... maybe that's... And I guess this is part of Survivor. Like, you have to do what you have to do to survive.
Yeah, you do.
But it just doesn't feel good. And I think we will probably see the outcome of that in the next episode.
I wonder if Miles will really hold it against them, though.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because ultimately things turned out quite well. He doesn't have much social capital or leverage to really threaten them or to get back at them. He has to work with them. They have to work with him. It's a tough situation. And he says it himself, an ally is worth more than an idol. Even though Miles had the idol this episode, I don't know how they're going to fare through the next episode. Especially if Brawn keep on throwing these challenges like we see in the trailer.
Well, not just Brawn. I think everyone seems to be throwing, like AJ from the other tribe as well. So it just doesn't... I don't know. I'm hoping that's not what it is. But, I like to see people compete.
I know, and if he does, if Brawn do keep on throwing just to finish off, then I don't know how Miles and the other brain will get out of this, because it's, even in the trailer they say, I think Ben says, look, the bullet dot is on your head, target on your head. I just have to pull the trigger, which is crazy talk.
I'm hoping, like, he survives. But anyway, so
we're gonna wrap it up there.
Let's wrap it up. This is a wrap up, guys, and thank you so much for listening to the show. I know this actually has been quite a mammoth episode, like, with 6, but we hope you enjoy it. We actually really enjoyed watching it, and I hope you like our takes on it. So this is the Recreate Reality Podcast by Michael and Teresa. You can find us on Recreate on TikTok and Instagram. That's WRECK.CREATE, where you can watch funny short clips of what we've talked about. If you like what you hear, be sure to like and subscribe to our pod. It really helps us a big deal, and we are extremely grateful for any support you give. We'll be back shortly with Traitors, the finale.
Traitors, the finale. Let's watch it.
So stay tuned.
See you guys. Goodbye.